our partner SCOPTIS, and we're going to hear in this keynote about the real-life transformation of a very traditional manufacturing environment into a connected, intelligent supply chain. So to say, the way to go, how everybody wants to move along when it comes to revolutionizing their business. And therefore, I would like to welcome two experts on the stage. You are actually on the stage already.
So we needed to do some techniques.
Okay, wonderful. So we have Renaat Sohl and Tim Smits here from SCOPTIS. Renaat Sohl is director and founder of SCOPTIS, and Tim Smits is the enterprise solutions manager. Let's welcome them to the stage.
Thank you. Okay, so while Tim is still setting up some of the technology, let me already quickly introduce. What we're going to show you now is what we saw this morning when Patrick Ryan demonstrated us how he made Jonas of Adventure Engineering very happy being able to track his manufacturing processes. They did that very nicely for a virtual company. We've done that for a real company. We've done that for the company Decomec, and we would like to take you through that very briefly. We're going to do that in a very short notice because we need to catch up some time, I understand. Okay, good. SCOPTIS, what we do as a company, we help other companies to be ready for the digital future with a focus on supply chain. We do that through innovating their business processes and digitalizing their tool set to be able to manage that supply chain. Yeah? To do that, we will go into their operations, find out what they're doing, what is their position in the supply chain, how do they cooperate with their supply chain partners. Starting from the process, we will then turn that into digital solutions with a big eye on the human factor in that. And I think that's something we've heard already a few times today. Always keep in mind the human factor of people working with those systems. If we do that, what we do is, as I said, we really do a deep analysis of the processes, and we go to the level of selecting tools and developing tools if needed for those operations. And if we do that right, what we deliver to the customer are the things that we heard many times this morning. Ability to deliver better customer service, better visibility on their end-to-end supply chain. We help them to be better integrated with their customers, with their supply chain partners. Sometimes we need to do tailor-made solutions. And the one that you will see today is one of these tailor-made solutions for which we use the Lobster platform to develop it. And in the end, and we've heard that a number of times today, we try to get out of the data, the performance analytics, the data into performance analytics so that people can work on that real time or looking back. Why do we do that? Because our customers have got a wide range of challenges. Yeah? Whether it's they want to be efficient in their own process, which probably is happening in a very dynamic, very often changing world, they need to create that process efficiency. They want to extend their supply chain. They maybe want to go out and reach other markets. They want to source from further abroad. Yeah? They need to be, because their customers are demanding it, or they want to take better control of their suppliers, they need to be better integrated. A typical challenge we meet with our customers. They face issues with reliability of their data, and particularly exchanging the data between their internal processes or with their supply chain partners. End-to-end visibility, mentioned already before. What I also want to do is to be able to collect in their daily operations data without somebody having to enter the data for the sake of collecting the data. The data is in the business process. How do you get it out of there into a view, a database, whatever you call it, where you can have your view on your daily management or historically being able to look back. And also typically what we see is all of our customers make long-term plannings with ideal scenarios, and then the reality is not so clean. The reality, we need to have real-time insight. And talking through all this, I think I've mentioned a number of times, processes and data. And you cannot decouple these. Processes and data are fully integrated. For who do we do that? All kinds of industries, whether it's retail sector, whether it's really supply chain players. But the one we're going to focus on today is an industry customer, a manufacturing customer of us, the company Decomec. Who is Decomec? Well, Decomec is a metal processing company that services different kind of industries, automotive particularly, a few other industries, by preparing raw metal, which they take from coils or whatever, to be ready to be used in the production of these customers. When we first met with them, meanwhile a few number of years ago, they had a number of challenges. Yeah? They had their own home-built ERP system, which was not able to connect at all to the outside world, but their customers were asking for more connectivity. They also wanted to offer better service to the customers by being connected, but at the same time they did not want to change their internal system setup so that they could maintain their existing applications. When I say applications, maybe that was a little bit exaggerated. A lot of the processes were still paper-based or maybe Excel-based. Yeah? Very different processes. Yeah? And we see one of the processes today, with very different operations in their factory, whether it was decoiling, cutting, slitting, sawing, whatever these words mean in that industry, all with their own typical requirements. Yeah? And it's a very entrepreneurial spirit in that company. They always wanted to be able to implement rapidly new projects, although they had very little IT skills in-house. We went out for them, started a search, and we said, okay, what tool can we find on the market that can solve this for them? And in reality, we did not find a tool at all. So we decided that we needed to build that tool. And after the study, we found out that the Lobster platform would be the tool that we would use this for. And now I'm going to use some very old words, which I have learned that as of today we're not allowed to use anymore. But the first implementation we did with this customer was based on what was then known as data, the data part of the Lobster offering. Yeah? We really focused on integrations, system to system, both internal at Decomec as with Decomec and their customers. We were looking for ease of implementation, yeah, and we had to deploy it very fast. While doing so, a number of new opportunities came up. Decomec was able to offer to its customers new service levels based on being integrated. The information that they were now getting electronically from their customers was being able to be channeled internally, also electronically. Until then, a lot of information came in through emails, faxes, whatsoever, and had to be channeled manually into the operations. But at the same time, those opportunities brought a number of new challenges. Yeah? They saw that they wanted to be connected with their customers, with their suppliers, but some of them did not have the ADI capabilities needed for that. They got more and more information from external, but what could they do with it internally? And then also, with that information, to manage their process, they needed to be able to add business logic on the fly. And after having found that out, we decided that we needed to go a second step for them. And we started working also with the Pro platform, what we currently know as the application builder, as the orchestration tool. I still need to use the word. Yeah. By putting in that Pro tool, we really introduced a layer, and that's what we'll see in a few minutes, a layer of people working hands-on with the data. Data coming in, users seeing it on screens, being able to process it, adding logic to it. Yeah. We were able to build it on top of, next to, the existing internal systems, be complementary to these systems. And we focused very much on getting rid of the paper information flow towards the operators on the floor. As I said before, a lot of the information coming in from external was still very much on paper or on other means and had to be brought onto the shop floor via the same way. And to do that, we built two parts of the solution. On the one side, a number of customer portals for working together with external partners. And on the other side, a number of production portals to translate the outside information into the shop floor to bring it to the operators on the floor. What was very important that, and I said that before, they had very little IT skills, both from an IT department as from IT knowledge from the operators on the shop floor. We had to make sure that it was all very self-explaining and very manageable for the people on the floor. And how we did that and how it resulted, that's the interesting part of today. But I'll leave that to Tim. Tim, to give us the demo of what you did and what you developed for them.
Yes, thank you, Renaat. What I will be showing today is one particular process that Decomec is executing for its customers. And you see it a little bit in the pictures there. They take a big block of aluminum, weighs about 11 tons, 10 to 11 tons, and they need to cut vertical plates out of that to be shipped again to the customer. So seems like a very simple process, which we divided into a few steps, backing that up by the system Lobster Data and Lobster Pro. So first step is customer sends us an aluminum block or announces us that via EDI. So we have an integration with our customer, we get announced this block is coming and this order needs to be produced on this block. We take that in and we immediately push that to the Pro system to calculate the effects of the combination of block and order. Then we get the physical block delivered into the factory. We have a scanning application, so to formally reception the block, which automatically adds it to the production schedule. Once the operator selects the block for production, it's loaded into the machine, and we have that function also available for the operator on a tablet to activate the production, and this will actually communicate directly with the PLC of the machine. So at Decomec, the operator can no longer manually influence the PLC of the machine. The machine will listen to what we say, no overrule possible by the operator. When the production is finished, automatically the plates get measured, both in thickness and in roughness. We get from the PLC of the machine the feedback of all measurements, which we summarize into a production report automatically sent to the customer. Then everything gets quality controlled and gets packed, which results in the finished goods, so the finished packs, which get automatically added to transport. So the transport module follows the production and gets announced to the customer again automatically. A truck shows up at the factory to pick up the goods. There is a formal check-in in front of the factory, and again with the scanning tool we scan out the packages that are returned to the customer, and the customer receives a dispatch advice that this truck with these packages waits and everything is on its way to you to be delivered. So it's this exact process end to end that I'm now going to show you in a live demo. So I'm going to switch to the environment. This is a testing environment, by the way, which has the actual connection to the PLC, but I managed to.
You're not showing?
I'm not showing.
You're only selected screen.
Oh, let's just. That's better. So I logged into the testing environment of the Decomec portal. I have a submenu, which is the blocks, and we have here a block list, which is the starting point of both the business persons at the office and as well the operator on his tablet. So we structure all the blocks known by the system, and we order them. Here we are looking at the production schedule. So we have -1 day, so we still have 1 day to produce these blocks. We have 4 days for these, and we have, for the most recent ones we have -8, which is shown in gray, because there are some rules on when a block needs to get delivered to the customer. For example, the sawing process is very sensitive to temperature. So the temperature of the block determines the tensions inside the aluminum. And so we need to keep the block for 72 hours in quarantine before we can saw it. So you see here the -8 is in gray because the operator cannot select it yet to be cut. It's not long enough delivered to the factory. If we start with the fresh block, so Q means it has been announced, but we have not physically received it yet. R, we have received it. W, it's ready for production. Then we switch to O, which means it is in production. We move to P, produced. G, announced, ready to the customer. F, invoiced. So every block goes through that process. And let us start with the most recent one that was announced. And here we have an overview of what does that mean. What info did we receive from the customer on that block? First of all, which customer is the block from? And then we have a bunch of measurements, weights, heights, lengths, and so on and so on. Not too exciting. A little bit more exciting is the order we need to produce on this block, again, for the same customer. And here we have a bunch of technical measurements, tolerances. This is the height we need to produce on the plates. Tolerances we demand as Decomec, and the customer tolerances, the width, the length, flatnesses, roughnesses, and then a stamp pattern, because we also need to stamp the individual plates coming out of the block. These two pieces of information we're getting via EDI from the customer, and we just load it in. It only gets interesting when we start to combine the two into the actual theoretical production order. So using Lobster, we calculate on this particular block to execute this order will result in these 8 theoretical plates that we can saw. So if we can look at each plate, it will have this height, applied tolerances, the applied stamp, and so on and so on. So this is actually the theoretical view of that order to be produced. And so far, this is the theory. Announcement stops here. Next step is to actually receive the block physically, or wait until we physically receive the block into the plant. We do that using a small portal, which is actually designed to fit a tablet screen the operator holds in the factory. And what he does is he needs to select the customer of this block, and each block comes with a label containing a QR code. So I prepared that QR code here on my phone. So this is normally done using the tablet, scanning the code on the block, but here it's read off my phone. And what the system will do is it will validate the data as announced already by the customer via EDI with the data that has been scanned just from that QR code. And you see in this case, all data match. So that's the first sign that so far so good. And although we have very nice customers and we love them very much, we don't trust them necessarily for what they're sending us all the time. So we do countermeasure, and we especially count weight, what we've actually gotten. So the operator will first have to specify where he has put the block into the warehouse, but then needs to actually countermeasure what the customer is telling us. If he types something out of tolerance, he will also get a warning like, look, this differs drastically from what was announced. Are you really sure? Yeah, sorry, it was a typing error. So we get 10 kilos difference, that's fine. The height, that's usually okay, but because it comes from the same production line every time. And so the other values gets confirmed. Et voila, now we can save. And in reality, I get a success, but you see the label printing has been disabled. Normally there is a next block, a green, which prints out the Decomec label to be stuck on the block. Of course, in test, I'm not going to do that because otherwise, in the factory right now, they would receive a label for a block that they would not understand. But now, if we refresh our list, you will see that this block has now jumped to R and is ready to be picked up for production. I'm going to move to the top one, which has already been approved. So the step from R to W is approval from the business that this indeed all data checked out, and this is a final go for production. And you see the data we are showing, except from a life cycle, is still the same. So what the operator now does, he takes the block, puts it onto the machine, and has, again on its tablet, an activate production function. So what will he have to do? He will have to make sure that he connects the physical world with the data that we have in front of us. Did he really load the correct block? We need to be sure. So first step is we ask a scan of the block label which has been loaded on the machine. Again, I have that label here. I cannot type in that, or there is no other way out of this screen than to scan the block label. So let me scan the block label. Hopefully they don't know this trick, by the way, that you can do that with your phone. Voila, block label scan is okay. And as an extra check, again, physical world versus the data world, is they need to confirm the stamp which is on the block to confirm that also the customer part is right. So the stamp works out, the scan works out, and then we have a process where in the sawing process, there's about 500 kilograms of sawing chips that come out. So that's not, that's sufficiently enough weight to not let it go to waste. So we also collect those chips, and the customer also gets returned those chips. So the operator will have to tell us, I'm going to collect these chips in barrel with number 1, 2, 3, 4, and the tera weight of this barrel is 1 ton 25, for example. Okay, next one is green. And then we have a whole startup procedure, which is a dynamic list of pre-production checks to be executed by the operator. I say dynamic because some checks need to be done for every block, some checks need to be done once a week, some checks need to be done every 2 blocks. And so based on the agenda behind this in the configuration, we load a startup procedure. So the operator has to go through this all and can write comments or take pictures to prove or to specify what he has done in that pre-production check, and he will run. So I will quickly say everything is okay on the line for now. Again, normally he does this on his tablet, taking the pictures as well. Voila, I'm done. Everything is green, and so I can actually now start my production. If I hit start production, what will happen behind the scenes, Lobster data will start communicating with the PLC and will move all the data here from our environment into the PLC of the saw. Voila, that's done. So the saw has received all its data, and a whole lot of new information pops up on the screen. We can have, for example, a look on what was technically sent to the saw, not too relevant for the operator, but for us as IT, that's sometimes very relevant to know. But the important stuff for the operator is the live production info. And you see currently that's empty. The saw has not started yet. The saw has not provided any measurements. So this is a full empty screen. But plate by plate, finished, we will start receiving data from the PLC, and we will start filling out the results of this production report. I don't have the connection with the PLC in the test system. I did my best to fake that, so this is a test, or exciting for me as well if that will work, because I theoretically loaded that into my test database. Now I will quickly go back. And you see it has moved to P, so that's good news for me because that means that it worked. Voila. So I have received now from the machine the measurements of all the plates individually, so I can have a look at those. All the measurements, check against the tolerances, and if not, we will log failure. So if it failed, there's a description of what was wrong, and we have a process with the customer to approve those failures or not. And we have a graph so that the operator can follow if he's well within tolerances or not. Out of this come, of course, packages. We get, by default, 4 packages for each production. We get the default package, which contains all the good plates. We have scrap packages, because the top sheet and the bottom sheet, that's not good material, that's scrapped again, but sent to the customer. And we have the chips package containing that barrel, 1, 2, 3, 4. And the operator can here print the labels, so pack them, print the labels, and it's ready to go. Then, when the quality sign-off is done, you see here the transport is empty, but once the quality sign-off, which is another tablet application for our operator, when that's successful, everything is done and dusted, these will be moved to transports automatically. So if we have one that is here, for example, this one has already been quality approved. You will see that on the packages, we will have that link to the transport, which gets created automatically. If my Wi-Fi, voila. So we get that transport number, and if we then jump to the transport module, we can actually follow the flow of these packages. Ooh. So transport, active transports. This is the transport containing these blocks. So we have the reference to all the packages. Actually, there go 2 blocks on one truck. So we have the packages of 2 blocks, and we have a loading instruction for the operator. And what is communicated to the customer is actually a PDF version, which is a loading list version of this transport. And this barcode is very relevant because it's based on this paper that the operator is going to load the correct packages onto the correct truck. And that's the last thing I wanted to show you today. So this, you see this transport has been checked into Decomec with the driver and a license plate. And we have scanners on the floor. Here I'm logged in as a scanner, which has a loading truck functionality. So this, on the scanner, the operator has this. He scans the barcode on the document. Lobster will tell him, yeah, that's indeed, that's a checked-in truck with license plate Lobster. I need to confirm again, I need to link the physical world to the data world, so I need to confirm that I'm loading the correct truck. Voila, and if I confirmed, I get a list of packages that need to be scanned on this truck, where I will scan them quickly. Again, I hope operators don't do it this way, because otherwise voila, if I scan them all on the truck, I get a final question to take a picture of the loaded truck. So that's for reliability purposes. We need to prove that the truck left our premises in a certain way. So we ask to take a picture. In this case, I have an image of a loaded truck here ready. And I confirm my transport. On the scanner it says, yep, that's done. And on my screen here in my transport module, I see now this truck has checked out just now, 6 before 4, and my picture is added to the transport so that we have full traceability of what has happened. And then the circle can start all over again by taking the new block and starting the sawing process.
Thank you, Tim.
Yes.
That was a very quick run through. We're trying to make up the time
Yeah,
that we were behind.
I did my best.
I just want to end up with one slide with some learnings from our side, because I think what Tim has shown has been a demo from what we learned throughout the day. Yeah? And if we look at that, then our learnings out of this process are, or this project are, that when we look at the data, it's never enough to just collect the data, to integrate data. We have to be able to process the data, to do something with the data. That's why we are very happy to do integration and orchestration. Yeah? Whether it's machine-to-machine communication, humans need to be involved. Yeah? Whether it's data being pushed into applications, the data themselves again generate data. The applications themselves generate data. What can we do with these? Yeah? And we need to be able to reliably execute. Tim now was playing this, of course, in a demo environment, but this is a real-time 24/7 operation going on in a factory.
Yep.
Yeah? So for us, the learning is data integration and orchestration must go hand in hand. Yeah? What we've also learned is that, and again, also things were mentioned today, there are a lot of standard use cases. Yeah? Whether it's in the general supply chain business or in this factory, a lot of these things are out of the box. But a lot are also very specific and require complex logic. The tool that we are looking for has the ability to offer us as easy as possible out-of-the-box solutions, but also allows us to add complex logic. Yeah? And then one thing which is important for us internally as developers making these tools for our customers is we need to be able to do that all in one go. Yeah? And until now, we used to do that partially in data, partially in Pro, and we combined them, and Tim and his team are very good at that, because if you would see the technique behind this, then that's very integrated between the two applications. Yeah? But we need to be able to, also for our new people, to have them in one environment, developing in that one environment. Yeah? And therefore, we are very happy with the logistics data platform, which in fact is going to do what we've been doing for many years. Building applications and integrations as one solution for our customers. And with this new platform, we are very much looking forward to that, and would like to hand it back to you.